Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Blue Blood on the Main Line. I'm your host, Curtis Sumpter, and I'm here with one of my all-time favorite guys, people, managers, Keith Jones. And I don't even call him Keith. I mean, calling him Keith doesn't even sound normal to me. I call him KJ. You know, I've always called him KJ from day one. And that's because one of my best friends from back home named is Keith Jones. So it kind of made me feel at home. So what's up, KJ?
That.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I thought about this. We met 19 years ago. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy, man. That's
so old, man.
I know, man. I've been plucking gray hairs out all week, and my birthday is next week too. And all of a sudden, I haven't, had no gray hairs. And then a week before my birthday, all of a sudden, I see like 5, 6 pop up. So
yeah.
Definitely, reminded me.
Yeah, NBC's got me wearing the 5 o'clock shadow now, and I see it here. I'm like, oh no, man. Like this is not good. I don't want to be that guy either. Like colors his hair,
Yeah.
I do like the Coach Wright, just like naturally go,
Yeah, same here. I try not to, I don't touch any of the products, but I just let it go. And I've been thankful to not have any. But this week's been pretty rough, man. But I definitely want to. Well, you really need no introduction. Usually I introduce everyone, tell them, this person did this, did that, but you need no introduction. But I do want to tell people who don't know that you were a manager for the Villanova basketball team, I believe, my sophomore year. So that would have been 2003.
Yes, right. Yeah.
You were there from 2003 to 2007, right? Or
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you were there during the fun times, from the beginning, so to speak. So you saw Villanova, prior to what it is now, and the transition and all the hard work, and I'm sure it's had some kind of effect and some stories you've had. So tell me about, how was your experience working for the team?
Absolutely. What's funny, Kurt, is people nowadays think Villanova's always been good at basketball. And granted, even in the 90s, obviously the 80s, 85 were great. 90s, there were some highs with Tim Thomas and Alvin Williams. But we had hit a rut. And when I joined the team, we were in the middle of a phone scandal. Phone cards, remember that? Like the phone code.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I got even the opportunity to begin with. I played basketball through high school in Jersey for a public school. Had no shot of playing ball at D1 level, but the Swarthmore Havre for a couple D3 school, I wasn't going to get it academically. So when I got to campus, I was super stressed, in way over my head. All these other students were way smarter than me. And I would practice, I would just like shoot around at St. Mary's. And I remember it was like October, I think, early October, 9 of you guys came in. I can't remember what 9. I remember A-Ray was one of them. And they needed a 10th. And that's how you guys just asked me.
Right.
I got my ass kicked. I might've grabbed like 2 long rebounds, but I remember thinking, I'm never going to get this opportunity again. I'm diving, like I'm doing whatever I can. And then that's when Jason Crafton said, hey, why don't you come next week to the office and fill out, I need like a student manager to help me with the video coordinating. And I said, great. And I filled this thing out, and I don't know what it was in me at 18 years old, but I wrote at the very top, like, I will work my ass off to if I'm able to get this opportunity. I don't know.
Right.
What compelled me to do that, but he said that's what made me stand out. And then 3 weeks later, I was in Maui for the Maui Invitational.
Right. Damn, it happened like that fast. Like I just remember hearing that, oh man, we got this manager who can hoop now, and I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm hearing the stories. I'm like, all right, I'm hearing, what's going on, behind the scenes. But once we got on the team, like you just hit the ground up and running. And again, we were heading to Maui, our sophomore year. Unbelievable time. One of the best places I've ever been. Hopefully I'll get a chance to go back.
You remember what happened though? So this is like a perfect example of how like where Villanova basketball was in. We got beat by Chaminade. That was their first win in their own tournament. And I think it was 30 something years, because the last time they beat somebody was like Ralph Sampson and that Virginia team from the 70s.
Yeah.
So like that's how low it got for the program right there. I think to this day, like that's the lowest point. I saw Coach Wright was quoted after they won in 2016. He was quoted as saying, like, in that year, he turned to Patty at one point, his wife, and said, "It may not work out here," which is crazy to think about.
Right. That sophomore year, he said that.
Yeah. Because I think we had 8 players. We were shorthanded there in Maui.
Oh yeah. That whole, you're right. After that situation, I'm sure that put fear in a lot of people. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought the same thing too. I mean, just as far as his his job, even our careers, like what was going on. So yeah, I can definitely see that uncertainty creeping into his mind. But I remember his post game speech, something to the words of just like, like this is us, you know what I mean? Like we did it, we have to live with it, like, and we were in the history books now, so we got a chance to just pretty much, try to right these wrongs and get it together and still held us to a standard. Like, I don't even care if it's 5 people, we should have still won this game. And I think that really helped us a lot too, taking that loss, even through that, because we still felt we should have won that game. And didn't take anybody lightly after that, for sure.
Yeah, what's funny too, within the program, it didn't feel as bleak as it probably did to fans, because I remember before Sham and I, we almost lost to Redlands in San Bernardino.
Yeah,
like,
that's when Baker and Rose guys got a chance to play.
Baker, Tommy, Ross, it was crazy.
That whole weekend, because we had Temple that Friday night, and then Sham and I. I'm sorry, then Redlands maybe like the next day or something like that. So it was a wild weekend. So that's how your college debut started, huh?
That's how it started. Yeah. So I always said to Mike Sheridan, who I guess, what would you call him? I guess his coach writes like.
Yeah, he's I would call him his concierge.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, I said to him, I was like, because I'm in the process of writing something about the experience, because it's so unique, and people nowadays who are like casual Villanova basketball fans, I think people forget real quick how bad it was from the outside. But what I was saying, like from the inside though, like I remember the first couple times watching practice and seeing how hard. I mean, Nardi and Bump were brand new; they were freshmen with me. But then you had the fierce 4, you guys, you, A-Ray, Randy, and Jason Frazier. And I remember thinking to myself, I've never seen better basketball players in person, and still working hard. And I was like, oh, this is going to change really, really quick. Like there was some hope at least. And plus, like coach never he never let you feel like we stunk, He always, we always had to work and improve. But I never felt that he gave up on us or was like throwing in the towel or, chalking something up to like a learning experience. Like, no, he's like one of the most competitive human beings I've ever met. So he was a great force ahead of us. But then again, I'm watching from behind the bench. While you're on the court. How did that feel for you? Did that feel the same way, or was it tough?
It was unique for me to see the intensity from a coach. Like I've had intense coaches, and I think I've had one that prepared me. My first, high school coach definitely prepared me for Coach Wright as far as with that intensity. But I want to say the demand he had, an expectation he had of all the players all the time, his staff all the time, managers all the time, and everyone knew it, everyone felt it, and everyone was trying to meet those expectations and see those expectations. But you felt it when he walked in the room and how he commanded it and demanded it, and it was just like that to me was just like foreign, Like I just was like, wow, like he really is like control. Like this is what a coach or a program is, and like you said, he was establishing, trying to build a culture. So everything was extra. He never, took a moment to let something go, because again, he was building it, and he knew he had to, again, like you always say, create habits, right? That will enable you to be successful and creating those difficult habits. So all that stuff I felt was definitely different, because in high school you have your coach and then you go home. This guy, I'm seeing this guy every day. He's calling my phone. showing up to my dorm 8 o'clock in the morning, waking me up, like, let's talk, like, just another, person that's inserted into your life. So that was different. And I just, like you said, saw his intensity, and it made me really understand that I'm not home, like, this is a whole new world. And, I got to embrace it and grow from it. And it was the best experience. Definitely.
I remember he was saying too about, because you guys that was a crazy recruiting class. Like, I can't even think of a class of 4 guys that had come into Villanova men's basketball that rivals that. But I remember vividly him kind of getting on you guys in practice, like, oh, kind of to the effect of like, oh, you're not the big man on campus anymore.
Yeah, throw it in your face. Yeah, right.
Yeah, because in high school, like, you're it. Like, that's it.
Right.
Adores you, you're king, right? And then you go to these schools, these D1 schools. And I remember, like, early on hearing that, I'm like, man, like, I'm watching Randy. He looks to me like, oh, damn, I think he's still BMOC, still big man on campus. We're going to A-Rate.
Right.
Looking at, Jason before, I think it was right after his first surgery. I'm like, man, I can play. Like, it's crazy, man.
Coach he really wanted to see how tough you were. Mm-hmm. And I think he knew we had a little, we had competitiveness, that edge to us. And we were a little cocky. So I guess because he knew that we were a little cocky, he can talk to us a little bit different in that sense. Because I remember as freshmen, we came in saying, Coach, we just wanted to be freshmen against everyone else. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, in the drills, no upperclassmen. He's like, you know what? Mark and we was like, Chris and Marcus, they're basically like freshmen with us. So we'll take them, like they're with us. And we don't want no other sophomores, no other juniors, seniors. Every drill, and coach is like, that's not a team. So we had a little bit of that cockiness coming in a little bit. So he had no trouble telling us, before a game, Okafor is gonna dunk all on your face if you don't, just that little thing, Bengal is gonna have 40 on you, or just whatever it may be to get that edge, or you think that's gonna work. Such and such is gonna come over and throw it in the 4th row every time, like just kind of gets you edged up, or I got the guy from Brooklyn, this guy, knowing those buttons, right? Knowing those buttons, right?
Yeah, he touches them often.
He hit those buttons.
Yeah, I had an interesting experience with him. So early on, even those first few weeks, I would drive Jason Crafton's car because he had one. And Jason Crafton was like 23 at the time, which sounds old to me at the time. He was super young. Drive his car because we'd have to cut like highlight reels, or we had to cut like if Quincy, like one time Coach said, I want to see every single time Quincy Doobie goes right, like gets the ball, dribbles right. So Coach Kraft and I were like literally looking through every single, and then editing it. And it'd be like 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm driving it over, or he's driving it over to Coach's house. So I get to see him like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, like ornery, wanting to make sure his technology works, which is great too, because not the greatest with technology. And
right, for sure. None of us is really.
No. But that was his thing though, like ultra competitive. But what's so funny is, as hard as he can be, he's a guy that will never give up on you. That's the one thing that I noticed in him really early as a freshman. He makes you feel like that's the culture, right? Your family. And I never thought at any point, oh, this is some like line that he's feeding all of us. Yeah. Just as soon as I would screw up or this, that, he'd put his arm around me in practice and like walk with me if I missed something or I forgot something. He'd go, hey, what's going on? He'll talk to me. Because we all to do schoolwork out too. Yeah. And, we're there at all crazy hours of the night as student managers. So it was a different kind of stress that way. But he created, right, you hit the nail on the head, like he created the culture we feel now. It was in its like early stages, and it took us all buying in.
I mean, we were just a team, a family, like you said. Everyone was family. He always, one thing I've learned from him is that saying, everyone role may be different, but everyone's status is the same. So, even as coaches, managers, or friends of the program, we all respected each other and we all have fun. Like, managers and players, like we all hung out together. We were always together, so honestly, when you started doing the anchoring and I was surprised. I was like, I could have sworn you was going to have a record deal. I was going to be buying your albums. at the concert, front row. Like, that's what I thought you were headed. I was like, my man KJ can sing. He got his guitar.
Like, here. Look at the
yeah,
guitar.
I'm like, he good. He good. I'm like, he already, like, everybody already think he a rock star around here. Every girl, like, oh my God, like, who's your manager? Like, that guy. I'm like, Kate, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm like, he focused right now. He focused.
So funny, man. That was another stress reliever. That's what it was. It's great. It's like catching up with Kyle now. Like whenever Kyle Lowry comes back.
He was your roommate.
He was my roommate my junior year. Yeah. It's so funny to tell people that now because they think when they see me on TV, like this is just some like, super, I don't know, dorky, nerdy person.
Nah, they don't know the real Keith, man. The real
Well, he would every time we're interviewed now, he mentions, he's like, you would play guitar hours into the night. I'm trying to sleep. It's so funny, man.
I would hear it because you guys' apartment was above ours, and I would hear it a little bit. I'm like, okay, he had it. And I would tell everybody that's John Mayer right there. I'm telling you, we're gonna be buying his albums, and I'm gonna tell everybody like I know him, and I'm gonna be there front row.
So funny,
front row,
man. So funny.
So,
but yeah.
What I knew you were a communications major. Was being an anchorman, going down that road, was that always something you wanted to do? Because I know most people, once you become a student manager, sometimes it transitions into like sports management, things of that nature, going down that path. Was that something you just like, I got enough of that, let me go and do what I really wanted to do?
You know what it was? It was two things. I really wanted to play basketball. I saw the path that people like Coach Crafton and remember like Mike Kakachi.
That's a hard life.
Right? It's a hard life. And even what Ross is doing now and what Dwayne Anderson's doing now, like
I did it.
You did it right. It is if you're a fan and you're looking at the bench, you go, how cool is that? Meanwhile, that's like the tip of the iceberg and everything underneath it. It's like, I remember like Coach Lang had said, get it done. Like that was it. At any cost, get it done.
Get it done moments. Yes.
Yes. It didn't matter like what your to-do list could be, almost done. And then it's like, oh, go pick up Coach Wright's dry cleaning. And it's like, oh, okay, fine, I'm going to do that. Go pick up Patty Chambers from South Philly because he can't drive right now. And it's like,
right.
Like literally, like that'd be the things that we do because we're a family. That's what family does. But I think people don't realize like it is a grind. And I saw that as a student manager, and I was like, I don't think that's the path for me. And I can still appreciate basketball and
right. With certain paths, you're like, that's not for me.
Yeah. And then so the other thing was, and this kind of ties into too, like what happened with our journey is. Well, actually, can we talk about before? It's like a road bump here. When you dropped like 40 on Columbia, that's when I knew I was like, man, play. Remember that? It was like the beginning of your junior season.
It was like Northeastern.
Was it Northeastern?
Yeah, Northeastern, yeah.
I was like, oh, this is fun. But I remember like the big turning point. We were NIT your sophomore year, my freshman year. We lost to Rutgers in the quarterfinals. The next year, I think it was the next year, or maybe it was it was the next year. We are on that plane, January 12th, 2000.
Yeah, coming back from Providence.
Yes, coming back from Providence. And we make an emergency crash landing because that's what that flight attendant said. And I think literally after that, we beat Kansas in the snowstorm.
Mm-hmm.
You dropped 32 or something, just demolished them. And all of a sudden we're on the map. And what happened after that point was all these sports reporters started following us. Remember at one point we switched, like the bus went from like a regular bus to like an all black, like blacked out.
Yeah. We was like, yo, we must be doing really good at the hotel. I mean, Coach had us in the Big East tournament. Whenever we played in New York, we would definitely stay in the plaza. It was nice. Mm-hmm. But we started seeing other little amenities start to, get better. We were like, oh, okay, all right. Something must be going right.
The gear got better. Remember that? Like also the gear got nicer. It's like,
the gear got better. Right.
But all of a sudden, like all these reporters started following us. And I remember just kind of watching a couple of them. And John Clark was one of them who works for
John, man, he's phenomenal.
He's the best, man. And he was just starting out in Philly, and he was following us along that tournament run your junior year, my sophomore year.
Right.
I think we lost to not Boston College. Did we lose Boston College?
In the tournament?
Yeah, remember that? I think
we lost to Boston College in the tournament year. Our senior year. I think my senior.
Florida.
No.
Senior year. Yeah.
No, it was my senior year. We lost to Boston College.
Oh, okay.
That was when Randy's, our residency year. That's
right.
when he was like, because I remember who was it? Somebody had the camera. Was Bilal or somebody?
Yes. So that's
you part of that.
Vividly. So Mikey Claxton has his little handheld camera, and I'll give you tapes if you like shoot it and you give. And thank God he didn't do that.
Right. Yeah. Like, literally.
Yeah. Go.
No, I'm laughing because I'm just like you said, thank God he didn't do that. But I remember something about a camera being passed around or something like that. That was funny.
Yeah. So I remember asking John toward like the middle of that run, I was like, hey, are there like internships? Because I always liked to write. And I had and I wanted to have a radio show on campus, and I ended up doing that. I was horrible at radio. And he said, yeah, there's an internship at the sports department this summer. And so I interned under him and Visek Ahema, who's since retired, but he was a former Eagle and broadcaster for like some odd years. Amazing human being. So is John, and I are incredibly close now. Great dude. And they took me to the wing. And that's kind of how I found my way into the business. I didn't get a job right away after college at NBC. I got a job in like this middle of nowhere.
Virginia, right? Somewhere.
Yeah. Look at you, man.
I remember we reconnected and everything, over the years. And your younger brother, I think I saw you on campus one time. Was your younger brother enrolling or something, maybe?
Yeah. What a memory. What a great memory. Yeah. So I went down to Virginia, made $19,000 a year for 3 years, which was brutal. But then that gave me the opportunity to go to Pittsburgh for an ABC affiliate there for 2 years. And then I finally got the job in Philly. But I always tell people, they're like, oh, what's the key? What's the key? This and that. My time as a student manager, I still haven't worked as hard as I did then. Like it taught me, number one, to put your work before yourself, to not have an ego. And the second thing it taught me was like time management and the value of sacrifice and working hard. Because as I've noticed, the harder I worked, and my other student manager, Dan Rossi and Mark Clinic and CV and
all the Pike, all those guys, Stevie G.
Yeah, Stevie G, right. But the harder we put in work, all of a sudden, like the product on the floor improved. And was it all us? Absolutely not. But it's like,
you guys were so, like I said, you guys were so efficient as a team in your roles that obviously we all saw that, and that's what all brought us closer, as friends. Like it wasn't just, oh, this is the manager player. No, we literally were friends. We were hanging out with each other. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Let's go together. We ride together. We hang out together. Like whatever it took. And again, I guess, you guys saw how hard we worked, or what was demanded of us, and you guys worked. But we saw how hard you guys worked. Like, let's not get it twisted. I knew what you guys were doing. I saw Dan Rossi sleeping in the locker rooms. Like I seen Pike, CV, ball hours in the office, you doing those. Like every coach has someone you was with Crafton. Somebody might have been with Coach Hill. CV might have been always with Coach Lang. Like everybody was being prepared, doing a lot of things. And trust me, we knew that we all had no time. We had no time, and you guys had no time, because when we saw we were there, you guys were there, we were like, wow, they really must love their job.
Yeah. Well, what it was too. It's like, I tell people now, like, oh, I was a former student manager, and they think of me as like some like water boy, or like somebody that's like, cleaning sweat off the floor. And I can rest knowing like I never felt that way when I was there. Like I was at one of you guys. I know my fellow managers felt the same exact way. Like we really did come at it as a group. And I always I teach a class at Villanova now, broadcast, and I have a lot of student managers in it. D-Ray, Daryl Reynolds was in the class.
Yeah.
I always check on the student managers because now there's so many of them. And
Oh,
how is it? Yeah, like when it was us, it was 5. There were 5. And I think now there's like 20, there's like 2 dozen managers, right?
The fleet. Like when I see them at the game, I'm like, it almost looked like when a car like pit stop, time out, they just run from every which way, boom. And just before you know it, they just disperse and they're all in one outfit. I'm like, it looks organized. It looks very, very organized. But I'm like, wow. Like, could you imagine? Like, they gotta have like shifts. Like I work Tuesday, Thursday. You know what I mean? Like it gotta be like that, you know, where someone is always doing something.
What's funny is like some people, they think that that's a good thing, like them working shifts. Mm-hmm. Like I remember talking to some and thinking about like even with managers that were us, like, oh, wouldn't it have been nice if we had like an out time because there was no in or out times with us. But then again, I was like, I always check on these the guys and gals because I'm like, you know, might be easy to feel like you're not part of it if you're only working like, you know, Monday, Wednesdays or something like that. Because that's the thing I always felt I was part of it. Like because we were there constantly. Like even I mean you said it, like when we go out, like my 21st birthday, I literally just posted a picture recently with Bump because he got named to the Delaware Hall of Fame basketball. Which is amazing. And I spent my 21st birthday with Baker at Kelly's, and then with you, Randy, JJ Outlaw, Bump, and Nardi at was it PJ's? Was it
PJ's? Probably PJ's. Yeah, right.
Like we went there right afterwards to meet up with you guys. Like, and it wasn't. I mean, I might tell somebody that now, and they're like, "Oh, how cool! You get to hang with the players." Like, no, you're friends. Like, you know.
No, we're friends. Like, no, I wasn't. Like, where you at? Oh, come over here. So, nah, definitely. Like, I really enjoy our time. You know, I was so excited to see you get an opportunity to interview Coach Wright, you know, after those championships, keep like seeing you guys on the TV together, you know, it just, like you said, all those things we aspired to be back then, to see where the program is now, it all makes sense. Mm-hmm. And we saw it coming. I mean, no one else probably believed us, but we saw the foundation that was trying to be laid, the culture, and, you know, just tapping at the stone. And eventually it was going to happen, and getting the right people and just caring about each other. I think it all falls down to just caring about each other, everybody. And now we have, you know, one of the winningest programs in NCAA history in the last 20 years. I mean, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. Like I love to just see Villanova on people's hats, their cars, bumper stickers,
all over the place.
In New York, all over. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, you know, Villanova's made it when you can walk into Lids anywhere and see a Villanova hat. Crazy, I said before you couldn't do that. I said now you'll see a Villanova hat somewhere. I said so we've definitely stepped up the brand. But as far as like I want to say the culture, it's always been there. You know, it's just that now we can share it with the rest of the world a lot more now. Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up yet with BetRivers, now's the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. What sets them apart is that they require one playthrough just to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With conference play starting up, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I faced a ton of adversity too, like, and I'll flip it back on you here, because I remember thinking like, oh, we're going to dominate the Big East with this core group. But then Jason goes down, you went down. Like, I've always been meaning to ask you, and Jason and I talked about it when he was still there, because I did like the senior thesis thing and talked to him with Bump. You know, how did that feel for you? Like to be injured, to get injured the way you did, have to stay out and watch. You talked about it, like your brethren, like your brothers, go out there and find success. How did that feel for you? You know, because it's, you know, because it's funny, like people like to say like, oh, those, you know, the student athletes, they're so lucky, like all those basketball players, so they live the easiest lives. And it's like, no, they just invested in this one really, really thing that is so hard for anyone else to accomplish. And they did it. And they're relying on that one thing. Like, how did that feel for you, having to sit out all that time you did? And, you know, and then you got re-injured, which is like,
it was KJ. It was rough. The first one, I want to say, was easier than the second one because I really didn't know what was going on. I remember when he said, "Hey, you tore your ACL." I was like, "What's that? Like, how long I'm gonna be?" He said 7 months. I'm like, 7 months, but I feel fine. Like, I need a surgery. So I was totally oblivious to everything. It was once I actually had the service and the surgery. And once I actually had the rehab, that's when I saw how difficult it was and the seriousness of my injury. But that was all going on throughout the summer, remember? So nothing was going on. We were trying to get back. I'm working out, heavy just to get back on the court. Alan, Randy, Jason getting better. Mike is getting better. Will's getting better. Kyle is getting better. We're bringing back like 99% of our offense. So I'm thinking like this is a minor setback for a major comeback.
There you go.
Senior year is going to be great. Like we're going to be good. I'm hearing I'm going to be stronger, quicker, all these things. I've been doing nothing but shooting for the last 7 months. Shot feels better. So I was anxious to get going to my senior year. But when it happened again, that's when that's when I was like, whoa, like what just happened? I didn't know what to think. I really thought like everything was literally over. Like I thought almost to the point, I really thought like life was over, like, which was crazy to think that, but like, I'm just thinking like, what now? You know what I mean? Go from this platform to now hearing other things being said about you. And it's nothing about your character, obviously, and it's nothing about your game. It's things about your durability. If you'll ever be able to play at a high level again, things of that nature. So that stuff was very, very difficult to hear. Also to see everything that I've been waiting for all summer to finally happen. Everything we've been waiting for the last couple of years finally happened. All the pieces are there, needed to make this big run for a championship. And to watch my guys go through it, it was so challenging. And I felt the way to handle it was kind of remove myself a little bit from the team. I tried to find every excuse to not be around when I didn't have to be around.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, cameras in your face. I want to talk about your knee, the team's success, the whole athletes having, mental illness and struggling through that whole thing. It's real. You don't know it until you probably can identify it later on in life. But all the signs, when I read and I hear about what people were going through and they're saying, I was like, yeah, that was me. But also trying to be strong throughout the whole process, trying to take on that Villanova attitude that we have. You know what I mean? Like 80% of the world don't care about your problems. 20% of the people care that you have, like, want you to have those problems. So how do you respond? Your attitude. You're dealing with all this adversity. So people talking NBA, people talking health, whatever it may be. Teams doing great. You still have to be a rock. Don't show any chink in your armor, but yet you're just holding everything inside, not talking. So it wasn't good. And it created some other inner not demons, but other little things that I had to learn as I grew up, as a man and be able to face, adversity and how to handle certain things. Like just being able to just verbalize things a little bit more. That's something I kind of held inside. So I've learned from that, and that's actually helped me out a lot from going through that experience.
That's good. Yeah, from the inside, like we can sense the frustration. And I'm just speaking for myself, I guess I could sense that you were frustrated. I had no idea that you were trying to avoid. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. And yeah, like the spotlight these days is on mental health. And so it might be for a student athlete now to self-identify it. But when we were there, there were obviously resources from the university, but there was not this like public passion for it.
Nobody ever asked KJ. Nobody ever asked me how do you feel. Nobody ever asked me that. Maybe I would have broken down or expressed.
Yeah.
But no one actually like Curtis. Like seriously, like I know all this is going on. Like, how do you feel? Like what's going on with you? Never. And that's not a knock on anybody because everybody cared and did everything they could. But it was just more so like, let's just try to make the situation around him better as best as we can. And sometimes it was like a conversation. Even my parents love my parents. My parents love me. My parents did everything they can to make, but I felt like they were so fearful. Like they didn't even know what just happened. And they saw
wow.
They saw, but I think they was again like just trying to make me feel good, whatever I could, like how do you really feel about this? But it was everybody, and because it was just trauma not only to myself, but the people who cared about me, people who wanted to see me succeed. Everyone just felt the need to just show remorse, and just which I understand, and I'm very, very thankful because I needed it. You know what I mean? I definitely needed it.
Yeah, God had a plan. It's funny, like I can relate in a little bit of a way. When I stopped, I almost like think of it as like a breakup. When I stopped being around the basketball office, like there was a certain point my senior year where I decided like, okay, this is not for me. It's almost stalling my professional development of like trying to be a pastor. And I couldn't watch a basketball game. I didn't go to a basketball game for like a good year until really like the run in 2009 with like,
Scotty, right?
Scotty and Shane. Yeah. Like, but that was hard. And Dante, like that was hard, man. So I can relate to it that way. Life is about like having to pivot,
Yeah, for sure.
The attitude motif, if you want to call it that, like was a real good one with regard to that. We're talking about family, like the elephant in the room. If I was to ever describe like what it is to have a family that isn't blood related, 2006 I lost my late girlfriend in a car accident, and I was on the phone with her, and I don't tell many people that because I feel like it's a burden when I tell somebody that. But I went through like, oh my goodness, a lot of therapy and post-traumatic stress, the bang, and I remember every day that I was in the hospital when she got in the accident. She was unconscious and she had a severe traumatic brain injury and never recovered. But we were there for a week, and every day, Coach or his wife Patty texted, Father texted people. Like I have a log because I thought it was so special. Like months after she passed, I remember going through my phone and like writing down all the texts that everyone sent. It was like, oh, this is a special program here that even like, what is that, 9 years after I graduate, like people are still on me, because they hear one of us is in need. And it's such a good example though, too. Like it's so easy for me when I hear about, even if I don't even know the student manager, even if I don't even know the player that's playing, like it's so easy for me to go out of my way to help them out. Cause it's like, oh, this is like paying it forward now because so many people did it for me.
For sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
I remember you went through that tragic moment. It was crazy when I heard of it. I've reached out to you. I didn't expect any. It's just tough times. I think I saw you shortly afterwards.
Yeah.
But that's not a surprise that the Villanova community reached out to you. That's just what they do. Father Rob still texts me on my birthday, Christmases. He was probably, him and Jeff Pierce, I would say, other than Coach Wright, were the two closest people I've gotten to know.
That's great.
My time at Villanova. And I've gotten closer to Jeff and Rob, Father Rob, simply because of the injuries. I mean, Jeff being the trainer he is, and Father Rob, I mean, we prayed and prayed and prayed. I think I became closer to Christ himself because of Father Rob as well, simply because the amount of time we spent praying and put, you know, blessed oil on my knee. And before we go to the Wells Fargo, him and I leaving early. A lot of people don't even know. When we used to play at the Wells Fargo, I would leave early and go down to the church on Broad Street.
Wow.
I think it was St. Rita's, or I'm not sure, that church. And they have like the downstairs basement part is like the walk Christ took. And it is like a beautiful, beautiful church. It's maybe like 5 minutes on Broad Street. And we would go down there and we would pray. You know, like I always look to him before the games, after the games. I felt like that's where I got my strength, because at that point, after, you know, going through what I told you, I felt that was the only person I could lean on at that time was Christ. You know, and I took to him, for sure.
Yeah, Father Rob ended up reading my late girlfriend Kara's last rites at her bedside. He gave us like the slogan too, because obviously Kara's family was from Arkansas. They were on the bedside. My parents were there, and he was like, you know what? Because Kara passed when she was 20. She just turned 24. And he said, you know, it's not the years in your life that counts. It's the life in your years. And like Father Rob is like,
yeah,
this guy's got all these, he's able to put everything into perspective and like gives you a goal without explicitly giving you the goal. You know what I mean? He's amazing.
I blame him for part of some of my reasons, because whenever I wanted to probably lash out, he would give me one of those one-liners. And I'm like, you know what? I can't even do it now. Let me hold it. Like that's how he would do. Like, I swear he always gave me confidence.
Yeah.
He always made me feel like I could do anything. I can overcome anything. I mean, before I would go to doctor's appointments, like whatever it is, I'm like, Father, like, seriously, I wasn't even baptized. I'm like, listen, like, I'm not even Catholic, but let's do something. Like, I need, you know, some kind of help here, you know, like, I don't know what's going on. And I love seeing him. Like, anytime I go to Villanova, there's a few people who I love to see first. And Jeff, who is no longer there now, he's retired. He's the first guy I run to see. Coach would be the second. And I'm always looking around to see if Father Rob is lingering around or in the building. Just an unbelievable person, and someone who's, when we talk about mental toughness, someone who's helped me, you know, really, really become, you know, tougher mentally.
Sure. Yeah, he is like one of those, like, there's no ego with him. Like, it came to a point, I saw him, gosh, a couple of years before the pandemic, and I remember asking him, like, how are you doing? Like, it's funny, he's so present for everybody else.
Good.
What's going on in your life? Like, you're like, is there anything I can help you? Like, I don't know how I can help you, but like, is there anything I can help you with? And one thing I'll say too, but anyone who's met Jeff Pierce, Jeff is this sarcastic, he is gruff, he's got this like icy exterior in a lot of ways. He's funny as hell, and also one of the warmest people that you meet. One of the warmest. Like, once you get to know his family, it's like, oh, this is like a special human being.
He acts so tough. And until I got hurt, I must have said maybe 5 words to Jeff. I don't even think I got taped.
Right.
I just was like, Jeff, man. I was like, I don't know, man. Him and Jason always going at it. Like, I don't know, man. I'm gonna stay away from the training room. Like, he just, I got hurt. And I was like, oh, man, I got to deal with Jeff. From the moment, it was like, who is this guy? Like, who is this guy I did not get a chance to know for the first 2 years, basically. This guy is amazing. And the thing about Jeff, like, because he's been doing it forever, he could read me like a book. He knew when I came into that training room, if I had it, before I even sat down. He knew what kind of day it was going to be. And he helped me. Like I said, he really, and I could see we became even closer after the first one happened. You know, we got a chance to go down to Alabama, work with Dr. James Andrews. Protocol was different. We approached, like, it was almost kind of like I was involved, you know, like in the second process more, you know.
Right.
Not that I was expecting to, but I just felt like, okay, we really got to do something different here this time. We had this opportunity here. And like, I just saw the level of just care he had for me. And, you know, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have, been able to finish out my career at Villanova because it was rough, man. That fifth year was rough, KJ. Like you know now, if you watch the Sixers and you see what goes behind the scenes, like I was like one of those NBA players that couldn't practice, just literally could show up for a game almost because my body just was falling apart every which way, and it was rough, man. It was rough. It was rough.
People forget when they're watching, players on TV of like Villanova or Big East or any D1 school, or D3 as well, D2 JUCO, is like you forget that these kids are like 18 to 22 years old. That's the other thing. They are young, man. Like I try to think about some of the things that I was exposed to and had to handle, like being exhausted and being at the end of my rope and going back to my dorm my freshman year and like crying because I was so frustrated. And then add to that the physical demands of being on the court like you guys had to do. And it's like, oh my goodness, and then the pressure of hearing from fans. I think like message boards were kind of the thing then, right? Like,
yes. And imagine not playing. Oh man.
Right. Oh my God.
What's going on? Like your mind, it's hard.
Well, that's the one thing, like now that I'm on TV, now I can appreciate the flack that you guys must have felt from like just the world around you. Like, yes, Facebook was like super young at the time, and I don't think people were it was more friends then. It wasn't like this.
Yeah, it was more friends than what it is now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think only schools use it.
Yeah. But like I think there were still message boards and you'd still hear it. You'd hear that like noise in the back, right? And I'm like, oh, now I can finally relate. I have some relevant experience to what you guys must have felt like. Mm-hmm. To that of like hearing from people on social media like instantaneously when I screw up, and I'm like, oh my God.
But it makes you a tougher person, I think.
Yes.
And I definitely think the people that you are close with, sometimes they like look at you like, how are you able to maybe brush things off? Like you don't have time for that. Like there's certain things you're not even going to entertain, because you've gotten to a point where you understand that all that negative energy, you don't feed into that. It don't mean anything. Opinions.
Right.
You know what I mean? You build up a armor to it. But if you're new to it, yeah, it can be a little hurtful because again, this is something that you're doing, you're passionate about. So anytime someone says something negative about something that you're passionate about, it can make you feel a certain way. But again, if you know what you're doing, and again, if you have faith and confident, and you don't listen to that, more times than none, good things will happen. And again, because first you want to have your peace. You don't want to let anybody come in your world and mess up your peace by putting negative things out there and you feeding into it. So again, Coach Wright taught us that. Like, hey, he was like, stop. Don't listen to what the people say, because we came in there with all this hype, and like you said, I don't care. You guys are trash. You guys lost to Chaminade. Like, that's what he was saying. Like, You guys lost to Chaminade. I don't want to hear nothing else. You lost to Chaminade. And like,
crazy.
What could you say? It was like,
yeah,
we lost to Chaminade. So it was like, I don't want to, until you guys win a Big East championship, or until we do something, I don't want to hear nothing about anything. Like, you guys got to do it every day. Prove to your coaches, your teammates, and then everything will go the right way. And those are just some of those life lessons you learn, just to be humble. Right. Definitely humble yourself and continue to work hard. And I think that's something that everybody is they love, that they leave that program with, whether you're a coach, player, manager, whatever. If you're tied to that program, you're going to see everybody doing it. And if you're not doing it, it's like you're going to stand out, in whatever role you're in.
Yeah. Do you know what, speaking of getting humbled, can we talk about the emergency crash landing in 2005?
Go ahead. Yeah. Oh man.
So this is something nobody talks about now. And I'm like, we keep talking about this because people are forgetting. And I say it to people and they're like, it's, whatever, you guys are fine. But like, we're talking about Father Rob was there. Jeff Pierce was there. I remember the athletic director's wife and twin boys were there. I don't know if you remember wife and the two little ones were there. And then, the whole team and coach was up front. What do you remember from that flight? Because I remember being terrible.
I'm going to tell you. So I sat, I want to say it was I think Mikey sat in the back. Randy might have sat directly across from her, and I might have been like the third seat from the back, right? And then everybody kind of followed in front. I remember the stewardess being in the back of the plane, and the phone go doom. She picks up the back of the phone, like, because we were like all joking around. And then all of a sudden, I see her literally sprint. Like, you don't just run down an aisle. Like a little kid running down the aisle at the movie theater or something. Like, she sprinted to the front. Do, 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 do. And I was like, what? And that was just after the plane. Remember, the plane first went up and it took a dip. And we was like, whoa, that was kind of freaky. But it was like, whatever, you know. And then it went up again. And then it kind of did a little dip. And that's when the phone rang and she just. So now we take our headphones on. I'm like, what's going on? So I see her go to the front door, open the door. She talking to, I guess, the pilots. Now everybody see her run down the line, everybody looking. And then I see a coach writing them up there. And then I see like their faces. You know, you can't see what somebody, but you know it's bad news. You can just kind of see people's faces and reactions. I'm like, yo, what the hell is going on? And then she got on the thing. It was like, yeah, we're gonna have to make an emergency water landing. When I count to 3, everyone brace. Boy, I'm like, no, this is fake. Like, this is fake.
Yes. Well, this is when I knew it was bad. So like, and for people listening to this isn't a normal plane. It's a 50-seater. So like one row of just one seat on one side, 2 seats on the other side.
Yeah.
That lane. I was sitting, I think I was sitting right behind Charles, because I think I was like right on the cusp there, because the big guys would sit in the exit rows.
The exit rows, yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, number one, our flight attendant, B was her name. It was her very first flight. And she was crying. She started crying. Remember that?
Hey, I think a lot of people was crying that day, Cage. I don't want to put nobody's names out. I'll just throw my name under there. I definitely cried. I was like, what is going on?
I remember having crazy thoughts. I remember, and Coach Wright tells it. I got a chance to talk to him about this right before I left for the Olympics. And I ended up doing a story on it because I'm like, somebody's got to do a story on this. He said that she told him that they're going to land in the water, and that's be the one that's going to get everyone out of the plane.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And the plane was, you're right. It went up, down, and then it went left, right. And I'm like, it's wrong. Like, we've been on dozens of flights at that point. And here's the thing that I remember is when she tells us to brace, I'm thinking to myself, how in the world, if we do successfully land in water, I got a dozen D1 athletes behind me. I got to step over 2 7-foot, a 6'10" and 7 foot behind me. I'm dead. Like, it's over. I remember I took off my winter jacket thinking like, oh, it's going to weigh me down in the water. Like, I had crazy thoughts.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And like I said, I saw when she was talking to Father Rob and those guys up there. And like I said, you could tell when it was bad news. And I saw Coach like give one of those like really? You know what I'm saying? And I was like, something ain't right. And then she said, hey, we're gonna make an emergency landing. And then it was like when she counted, she said, we're gonna do a practice. So 1, 2, 3, brace. She was like 1, 2, 3, brace. Like, it was really intense for the practice run. I was like, it's a wrap. It's going down. Trying to call my mom. Literally, it was the scariest thing ever. I mean, it's just to think we stood on the runway for about 45 minutes trying to de-ice the plane. Like, that should have told somebody right then and there, maybe we shouldn't go.
Yeah.
But
it was, two things then too. Like, so I'm thinking to myself, you nowadays you get on a plane, you don't even think about these. Like, for anyone listening who's gotten a plane, these are all things you don't think about. Like, that your cushion underneath you is a flotation device. All of a sudden, I'm thinking that. I'm like, I got to rip this thing up. It's going to hold my weight. Like, what? And then I think we're going to brace. And it's like getting that L shape. How is that going to save me? Like, spine is going to compress. Like, there's no way I'm surviving. Like,
no way.
This. Like, what? And then here's the thing. You didn't get on the plane the next day, did you? Didn't you take the train?
I know. I got on the plane. I wasn't. Okay. I was trying not to.
That's right.
I was doing everything I could not to. Obviously, coach was like, if you guys want to play basketball, in your careers, like, this is what you're gonna have to do. If you don't get on now, you're never gonna go on. I called my parents. My dad said, take the train. Same. My mom was like, I don't want you to get on the plane, but you probably should get on the plane if you're going to be taking the plane again, because I don't want you to be scared like me. My dad was like, take the train. So I took the plane. I know some people took the train, but I was nervous though. I'm not going to lie. And Keith, to this day, hand to God, I get nervous every time I get on a plane. Those flashbacks come on. I swear I do. Those flashbacks come to me every time.
I try to think of it because I remember the next morning I was very scared because I'm like, it was just too real. It was literally within like 12 hours. We were back on a plane. So we barely slept. So I'm still delirious and like buzzing from like, what did I just experience? I think I remember like Coach Kraft, Coach Pinckney.
Coach Pinckney
on the train. Yeah. But what I think about now when I get on a flight is what are the chances it happens again? Like it's probably so little. Like even to be involved in what we were involved in is like so decimal point small that I'm like, it can't possibly happen again.
We use that as motivation too. Another thing we used to draw us closer together. Like we went through so much adversity. Like people, like you said, just that the phone, the injuries, like what could go wrong went wrong, you know. But the program remained the same way. Like coach never changed on how he was going to coach and do things, no matter what obstacles might have been challenging. And I'm glad it's at where it's at, which leads me to my next question. Have you been able to watch any of the games? Watching anybody? Like, what do you think so far? I know we up and down right now, but I feel like it's like my fifth year. You know, I feel like we're good, but you know, we might drop 2 in a row. You know, things like that, which is unheard of.
It's so funny. Like, you're right. It is unheard of. I look at things so differently having been involved in that program. I think people expect now for Villanova to just go like undefeated every game, to be in every game. I tend to look at it from like, okay, these are still a kid. Now that we're in our late 30s, like now we realize, oh, they're kids. Like these are like 18 to 22 years, they got stuff going on. There are so many people now, I read it like on Instagram, on the comments under Nova and men's b-ball, is they say like, oh, play your bench more. And I think about it and I go, oh, I know coach. Like these guys haven't put in the work yet to be trusted in that moment.
Right.
Like, and the other thing too, like from my perspective, maybe you didn't feel this so much. Coach recruited athletes, man. Like every single player that he brought into that program, at least the premier guys, were freak athletes. We'd have that softball game every year against the fact. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I remember being like, these guys are good at softball too. Like this is fair, man. So I think the team at this point, a season's an evolution. We're coming up on February, which is a really important month when it comes to identity, heading into March, where March is all about momentum. Then at that point, I think we're starting to see some maturation. It's a little alarming to me that we smack Butler by 40 and then turn around and drop one to Marquette. You know what I mean? Then Georgetown, you handle business in Georgetown, but you come on. So I don't know. It's hard to tell. That's the beauty of college basketball too. You know, people always ask me, and I'm like, I don't know. Could this team be one and done? Maybe, right? Could, if we're we'll probably end up being what, like maybe a 3 or 4.
Maybe a 5 seed, depending.
Maybe 5, right? Yeah. And it's like, so you might have that like dreaded 12-5 matchup, or that, that 4-13, or can this team make a run? Like I could see that too. Like I think a lot of the tournament is good coaching too. And that's where like Villanova is super blessed. Like you got to through the ranks. Like even I talked to like George Halkovich, who's like the associate head coach now. And I remember watching him when I graduated. I think it was, were you there when Georgie started?
No, he started, I think, the year after me.
Right after. Me too. Yep. And I remember watching like him do all the grunt work and putting in the time. That was all the coaches. Like Kyle Neptune did it. And then you got, oh my goodness.
Baker, Dwayne, Mike Nardi.
Yes.
All these guys
put in the time, and they're so ingrained in the fabric of the program that like when you're in these moments, in these tournament games that matter, there's no doubt that these guys aren't going to be paying attention to these to these guys in their polos, or, I mean, Coach Wright's got to go back to the suit, by the way, but you know, getting the polos and everything else, you know, like they're rapt attention, which is really important. So you know, they're fun to watch. I love when guys off the bench have their opportunities, but I respect when they haven't put in that time yet to be trusted in moments, because I saw it when guys would come off the bench when we were there.
And like, I think the transfer portal kind of hurt a little bit, because you got a lot of teams that are older now.
Yes.
Got some transfers in, guys got an extra year, so teams are probably better. So it's actually more playing on a equal playing field, I think, now in that regard. So you kind of see, like you said, some of these guys get an opportunity. They're playing against more experienced players now, and it's showing. But again, they'll get their chance because they'll have their extra year as well. You know, so it'll come back full circle for them. That's crazy. So when you gonna get a chance to go to any games this year? I know the schedule is kind of tight, or
it's crazy, man. Yeah, so I got to the Butler game because it was the alumni game. I always try to make it out to that one just so I can see everybody. And it was crazy because of COVID. There weren't many people there, which was tough.
Right.
You know, at this point, the more and more years that pass, we're all like in different parts of our lives, and it's tougher to get out. Like I saw Tommy with his kids and his wife. So cool. Him sitting next to Denny, who's also now like.
Yeah, right. Remember Denny used to come visit us?
Yes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Well, Denny tells this story. I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this. My youngest brother and Denny are the same age. They're 9 years younger than me, Tommy. And so Tommy and I lived with each other sophomore year in St. Mary's Hall, next to me and Bump. And the two brothers slept over, and Denny got sick. And I remember I having to like rush Denny to the bathroom to like puke. Right. He tells that story to this day. I was on the floor interviewing the guys after, was he part of 2016, right?
Yeah, I think it was 16. Yeah, he was both.
Yeah, so I interviewed him because I'm like, this is so cool. Like, he's not local to our area with regard to like where he went to high school down in Maryland. Like, still, I'm going to interview him. He told that story to me live on TV. Like, no, you can't do that. It was great. It was great. Like, it was a good credibility builder for me. But I'm like, man, like, how old am I? Like, this is crazy. Funny.
I remember when he got on the team, I was like, wow. I was like, this shows how old we are. Because I remember you were a kid coming up here, and now you're on the team. And it was just, it's family. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it felt like. It just felt like you're supposed to be here. Then I don't expect anything different for you not to be here. And I don't expect any other players or little brothers running around here not be here on this team, because they lived it. They've seen it. They know what going over basketball is.
Yeah. It's funny. I wish I can get to more games. I work the shift now where I get up at 2:00 in the morning. I anchor the news from 4 to 7 a.m. And then we have the streaming show on Apple TV that we tape. So like, I wish there was a game at like 11 a.m. every day. It'd be great.
Right.
I'll go. But like these like 7 o'clock games, 8 o'clock, I can't do it. You know,
can't do it.
Sleeping, which is tough.
I understand, man. I understand.
Do you get to games?
I do. I've been to one this year. I'm going to head to one this weekend, actually, St. John's. But I try to get it when I can, man. It's kind of rough. I like I like watching it on TV because I don't have to worry about no one talking to me, because I get intense into the game. Yes. And things of that nature. When I go to the games, they want to put me in a nice seat. I'm like, can you put me somewhere? Like, put me behind the visiting team bench, because they're not going to talk to me behind the visiting team. So I can like really watch and see what's going on. Hide me if you can. You know.
It was so funny. I was telling CV this that they put me in the third row behind the bench. And I'm like, this is amazing. Good seats. Number one, I was like, this tells me that a lot of the former NBA guys and stars are not coming to this game that I'm getting. But I got like the double-edged sword of like being on TV is everyone wants to say hi. I'm trying to lock in, man. Like, it's funny. I want to be a good Villanovan and a great ambassador for NBC. But
it's love. It's love. Yeah. I mean, everyone's excited to see you. You're excited to see everyone.
But we're not here for me.
You do it during the timeout or a TV commercial, like that's. But it's hard, yo. It's hard, and I do it with a smile. Love it. because again, I love seeing everybody that I see when I go back there. It's great. It feels like it was just yesterday I was there. But it's like, it's hard to be a fan and watch the game sometimes. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. Are you up in New York now? Are you back there? Or are you around Philly?
So I've been going back and forth between both, just because I got some work going on in New York as well. But in Philly, trying to do some things. I've been actually setting up a bunch of COVID testing sites, helping the communities out. Been doing it back in New York. Had a couple places here in Philadelphia. So just trying to just provide different spaces for people who can't go out there and get an appointment somewhere and who's not able to actually get out their homes. We had some mobile stuff going on. But yeah, just trying to do it all. Keep the podcast, trying to get some training, some things going on back in New York as well, local gyms. So just doing it all. Just doing it all. Just taking everything I learned from VU and just giving it back.
You're doing a great job, man. You're doing a great job. Cool. Seriously. God bless you too for doing that with the COVID testing sites. What compelled you to do that?
So actually my family's company, they actually were doing genetic screening for years.
Oh,
and because of the pandemic, businesses kind of changed. And that's when they've been able to provide more testing as a solution, other than the CVS's, the Rite Aids. And we just started doing that and working with different labs. And we've been able to provide testing across the United States, in the South, and me, a regional manager up here in the Northeast.
Wow.
Promoting in Jersey, New York, Philly, and just to businesses who need, business owners who need to keep their employees safe, to keep their employers working, for employers who children need to go back to school, like whatever it may need, just trying to provide safe spaces for people, and free of cost. So
that's great.
Just giving it back. Yeah,
it's awesome, man. Hey, and you're killing this. This is good.
Trying, man. Trying.
You have the tables turned, man. I'm like, oh, this was like a free flowing conversation. In fact, I think I didn't curse, but I said a word that was close to it, and I was like, oh man, why'd I just do that? I feel comfortable. That's why.
No, Kate. What do you mean? This isn't censored. I mean, this is fine. This is off hours. You can talk and say what you want. Again, I'm not worried about what you're gonna say, man. All good things. Yeah, all good things, man. But I'm so glad that you were able to be on the show. Like I said, just please critique me on the side when we're done, for sure. Give me some pointers, and definitely going to get Coach right and get a couple other people up here on the show. I'm going to get the rest of your gang up here. I'm gonna get CV. I'm gonna get Mike Q. I'm gonna get Stevie G. I'm gonna get everybody. I'm gonna try to do Mike Hall. I'm trying to do like one Zoom and get everybody on at the same time.
Awesome.
And do that as well. But that's good, man. Yeah, just doing it, man.
Dude, I tell my students at Villanova, what works on TV or broadcast or of any kind, whether radio or TV, is authenticity. And you got it. It's, you don't have to be perfect. I think people try to be perfect and they get on themselves, especially like perfectionists. I can imagine someone with your mentality, how you attack basketball. You must attack this the same way and think like, I got to be perfect. It's like, no, you got to be authentic, and be prepared. Obviously, Coach always said that. But great, man. This is good. So we got to get,
Steve, man. For sure, we got to do this again. We got to hang out. We got to link up. Now that I know your schedule, I know when you're free. We can definitely go grab a beer or something like that and catch up in person, man, and hang out and do this live, for sure.
Absolutely, man, for sure. Thank you again for having me.
No problem, KJ. Appreciate you, brother. Go Cats.